US President Donald Trump issued a message on social media on the 9th warning that if Mexico fails to cooperate with the United States for some unknown reasons, the United States can always return to its previously profitable tariff position. The threat comes just 2 days after Trump announced an agreement with Mexico to suspend tariffs on Mexican goods. Trump posted several paragraphs on social media, Twitter, on the 9th to stress the importance of reaching a deal with neighboring Mexico in the south, while warning that if cooperation fails for some unknown reasons, the United States can return to its previous tariff position. The White House announced in May that it would impose a 5% tariff on all Mexican imports from June 10. If Mexico fails to effectively ease the illegal immigration crisis, the U.S. will raise the tax rate to 25% in phases starting in July. Under pressure from the U.S. side, Mexican officials held consultations with U.S. officials in the U.S. capital Washington on the 5th and announced an agreement on the 7th. The agreement includes measures such as Mexico's agreement to deploy members of the National Guard, as well as an agreement for the United States to expand the scale of its current project and send more Central American immigrants to Mexico, where they are waiting for the United States to approve asylum applications. However, the New York Times immediately revealed that many of the contents of the agreement were old content that the United States and Mexico had already negotiated, not the result of Trump's recent pressure. Beto O'Rourke, a former Democratic congressman who announced his candidacy for president, said Trump's exaggeration of the outcome of negotiations with Mexico has hurt economic and trade relations between the two countries. Senator Bernie Sanders, who is also vying for the Democratic presidential nomination, says the world is sick and tired of a president of the United States who is always threatening tariffs and declaring war verbally. Acting Homeland Security Secretary Kevin McCulley supported the latest U.S.-Mexican agreement, saying it was new, including Mexico's agreement to deploy about 6,000 National Guard personnel. McCallum said the scale of the deployment is unprecedented. These Mexican National Guard members will not only be deployed on the southern border of Mexico to block Central American immigrants from entering Mexico, it will also be deployed on transportation routes north from southern Mexico and will work with the United States in key border areas adjacent to the United States. McCallum claimed that as long as the Mexican side implements the agreement, these actions will be effective. Mr. Trump insists the latest deal has been misinterpreted. His tweet said that this administration, like the previous administration, is committed to getting Mexico to take action, but that the difference is that it did not resolve the problem until the current administration signs an agreement with Mexico. As for the contents of the agreement, there are some that have not been released, especially one of them, he said. The content will be released at the right time. The Associated Press reported that Trump may be referring to a secure third country. However, Mexican Foreign Minister Marcelo Ebrard said on the 7th that Mexico has not agreed to the request of the United States. According to the Mexican side, if Mexico agrees to become a safe third country, the United States will force illegal immigrants to apply to the United States for asylum on the spot after arriving in Mexico, and will not be allowed to enter the United States until it is approved. U.S. Ambassador to Mexico Martha Barcena said Mexico is committed to working with the United States to meet common challenges, such as illegal immigration. Negotiations between the two sides will continue, and the United States now wants to limit the number of illegal immigrants entering the United States from Mexico to 2018 levels. The Trump administration has transferred non-Mexican illegal immigrants who have entered the border between the United States and Mexico and applied for asylum to Mexico under the Immigration Protection Agreement in January, leaving them waiting for the United States to approve asylum applications in Mexico. From January to the end of May, the United States sent more than 8,800 Central American immigrants to Mexico. Most of the immigrants who travel north to the United States through Mexico come from Honduras, Guatemala and El Salvador in Central America. The Mexican government hopes to curb immigration from the region through the Central American Development Project. However, Agence France-Presse reported that as the United States tightens its borders, more immigrants want to enter the United States as soon as possible. Agence France Presse quoted data released by the Mexican government as saying that the number of foreigners arrested in Mexico increased from 8,248 in January to 23,679 in May, the vast majority of whom were Central American immigrants, and the number of deportations increased from 5,884 in January to 16,507 in May. The vast majority are also citizens of Honduras, Guatemala and El Salvador. With regard to Mexico's deployment of National Guard members and other practices, analysts believe that the limited effect, on the contrary, may stimulate a legal immigration industry, allowing snakeheads to make profits. Luis Villagrán, a Mexican activist who has traveled north with the migrants many times, said that many Central American immigrants have entered Mexico through Guatemala and are affected by changes in the situation. Another route is being formed between Mexico and its southeastern neighbor, Belize. According to Villagrán, Mexico does not strictly control its border with Belize compared to its border with Guatemala. Migrants pay $900 to snakeheads and people lead through the border. Trump can do whatever he wants, but he can't stop immigrants, Jose Arena, a 57-year-old Spanian immigrant, told AFP at a reception center in the southern Mexican state of Chiapas.